So boom, we're back. And last week I dropped a video. Check it out if you haven't already. But in typical YouTuber fashion, I just haven't touched Forza since then. I haven't even launched it. Anyways, in that same time, however, Playground Games decided to come out with a new bundle, which is completely free if you bought the premium version of the game. If you didn't, if you're like me and you looked at that $120 price tag and started running the opposite direction, congratulations, you're a logical person. But now you get to give Playground Games $5, or at least if you want to drive these cars, you have to. And one of these cars is broken. You might have assumed that it's the F80, and congratulations, you would be wrong. It's actually this thing, the Alfa SE 048 SP. And for the sake of this video, I'm just going to call it the Alfa going forward. Also, originally I was going to do this video last week, but my lazy ad just didn't. And originally I was going to test if this car was pay to win. Spoiler alert, in the interim, that week that I just haven't really done anything, this car is completely conquered every single S2 leaderboard. I mean, so unfortunately, that question has really been answered. But I still have some other questions. You know, one, how much better is this car? Two, what areas does it excel in? And three, do you need to buy this car? So I've devised some tests, some trials, if you will, to experiment. I've decided that I want to do 3 clean lap times in the old meta, so the 787B and the Mazda Furia, and then I'll hop in the Alfa and do the same. And that should give us some good, consistent data to really compare to see how good this car is. And then I will do that 2 more times, so 3 races altogether, all on different styles of track. So my idea is I want to do a small circuit, then a large to medium-sized circuit, and then a sprint, compile the data, and then compare. Enough yapping, let's get into it. So I was going to go through and break it down circuit by circuit, track by track, but on second thought, there's really no need. The order is the same. 787B, Mazda Furia, and then the Alfa. And to be honest, I didn't expect this. On some level, I kind of thought some cars would naturally excel better at others, especially considering that all the courses I selected, I chose because they were pretty different from each other. And the fact that the Alfa just hard mogs everybody is a little concerning. Okay, so before I actually share some of my thoughts and get into the conclusion, I want to go over a couple of things that jumped off the page. First of all is how dominant the Alfa was. It literally won everything. The small circuit, the medium, it doesn't matter. It won all of it. Second is the scale. The Furia, on average, was 1.3% faster than the 787B, but the Alfa is 3.1% faster, meaning that the Alfa more than doubles what the previous meta was. And then when the Furia came out, it was almost immediate how fast it took over all the S2 leaderboards in time attacks. That's not a marginal difference. You know, that's a difference in car tier, I would say. Thirdly is how easy the car was to drive. There wasn't really a way I could quantitatively display this, but the 787B and the Furia, which I consider cars that are relatively easy to drive, the Alfa made them look hard to drive. I was spending about half as much time setting my 3 clean laps as I was on the 2 previous meta cars. So put all of those 3 things together, and what that actually means is that the difference between this car and the rest of S2 isn't something that can be overlooked. You know, the average Forza player probably doesn't have a Furia due to it being one of the first seasonal rewards. So 3.1% is the margin they're going to have to overcome if they want to compete on any S2 track. And that's honestly, that's the difference between me, an average Forza player, and a world record run. It's just impossible. You can't do that. So to answer the questions we had at the beginning of this video, what car is the best? Hands down the Alfa. By how much? Well, 1.3% if you're lucky enough to have the Furia, or 3.1% if you don't. So where does this car excel? Any circuit. You know, more technical races, this car is absolutely insane. Additionally, that's like half the races in road. You go to road rivals, scroll through, more than half of them are circuits. So if you want to play S2, you really need this car or you're just not going to be competitive. So upon further review, genuinely this car is just too good. I think if it got placed into the game as, you know, in a form where everybody could get it, so seasonal reward, or, you know, maybe they just put it in wheel spins, whatever, I wouldn't be that bugged because you can still get it. The thing that is irritating to me, right, is the game is $70. When I evaluate how good a game is, I look at dollar to hours of entertainment. The campaign in this game doesn't take 70 hours. It takes maybe like 20. So that leaves 50 hours of you having to figure out what you're going to do. Insert rivals. I mean, that's what I did. Rivals and online races. And with the addition of this car, it completely takes out S2. Like, you cannot race S2 unless you want to pay an additional $5 and make it so you have to play the game even more to get your money's worth, if that makes sense. And that bugs me. You know, for another reason too, when you buy a racing game, it's kind of implied that you'll actually be able to try to be the fastest, because that's like the literal definition of racing. Not even in terms of racing video games, but racing in real life. The core concept is that you get to try to be the fastest. And with the addition of this car, it completely takes that away. One of the most core pillars in racing is taken away unless you pay the money, and that feels incredibly disingenuous. So after evaluating the numbers and kind of saying my piece, yes, this car is 100% pay to win. And I honestly don't think, you know, the Forza community should be okay with it. It's slimy and really just a blatant attempt to squeeze money out of us, considering S2 is probably the most popular TI class to race. But that's just my opinion. I would love to hear yours. So, you know, if you want to leave a comment telling me what you think, go ahead. Anyways, that's it for my video.